You know what time it is. This is Kiyha's Jambaliyha. You know I'm always cooking up something hot. Come on in. Let me feed you, baby. So this is another episode of Kiyha's Jambaliyha. And you know I'm always serving it up hot. But this week, I want to do things a little bit differently. Now, I was going to talk about the Grammys and how wonderful everyone looked and how wonderful everybody performed. But we already know this. We already saw it. And it's a little late in the day for that. So I was thinking about, when I'm talking sometimes on the radio, people have their perception of who we are. We're telling our stories, we're living our lives, and people are just perceiving, who we are based off the things that we say, and what we're telling them about our lives, but they don't really get a chance to know us. So before I go on with any other show and talk about any type of entertainment or anything like that, I'm going to tell y'all a little story about myself when I was little. And maybe this will give someone a little bit of hope and inspiration. So as a child, I was, by my mother's words, one of the most peculiar children she had ever met in her life. I was a child that did not like children. I just did not want them around me. And I was a child who also loved things particularly clean, including my hands. If my hands were ever dirty, I would just freak out because I just hated the feeling of having anything on my hands. And being this peculiar child and not liking children, I almost resembled an adult at most times. So for those of you who don't know, I am Gemini and I am born on Juneteenth, which for me, I think is very relevant. Even for some people might say, well, it's just a day that they created. But I believe that everything that happens is written. And I don't believe that anything is coincidental.
Talk about
so
it.
that I was born on that day, I believe that I have always been fighting for my independence. And being one of 16 children, that was not always easy for me. I struggled a lot with my emotions as a child, and I cried all the time. Now, I can laugh about this now, but as a child, it agitated me very much that because I cried so much and my name is Kiyha, that everyone called me Crya. It bothered the hell out of me. Like, why are y'all antagonizing the baby even more? What's wrong, Crya? They would say, come on, Crya, stop, come on, wipe your tears. And I say, my name's Kiyha. And I feel like they kind of egged on the fact that I was so emotional that they just egged it on more. So I was telling a friend of mine a story the other day, and I said, sometimes my family really gets on my nerves. And as much as I love them, sometimes they really get on my nerves. And it makes me think back to when I was a child because of the child that I was, like I said, I hated children. But because my family members knew that I really didn't have much friends by choice, because I swear, my mom had so many friends that had children that could have been my friends, but I hated them. They touched stuff and they broke things, and I just didn't want them in our house. And you know what? It would be cool if I seen them outside the house, but I just didn't want them in my house. And so my family members, when we were sitting around hanging out and stuff, they'd be like, come on, let's play with Kiyha. But one of the games that they would play would be like, let's see if we could get her to cry.
Oh,
and it
gosh.
would be like, so are you going to cry today? And I'm like, no. They're like, because you always crying, right? And I'm like, so I'm not crying today. I'm fine today. And they would say, oh, yeah? Does that hurt? Does that hurt? Does that hurt? And they would touch me and like just poke their finger, just touch me. It wasn't hurting. They didn't do it hard, but they would just touch me and keep touching me and say, does that hurt? Does that hurt? And I would say, no, no, no. And then towards the last like 150th touch, I would just start screaming, yes, yes, it hurts. Yes, it hurts. I was really one of those kids. They were like, listen, watch, you got to see this one trip out. When she trip out, she go off. Damn. She goes ham. And I'm like, I grew up with cruel and unusual aunts and uncles. They really didn't know much about raising children. They were just really, I was like their tester kid, you know? And shout out to my aunts and uncles who did the best that they can with what they knew, because the other kids after me all turned out wonderful. They all went to university, college and university. They're like,
so they were practicing with you. They're like, okay, do this. All right, it's not working. So try something different. But you were unfortunately.
Well, this one is definitely, she has said, let us know that when she gets big, she's going to kill us. So
right.
The same thing with the rest of them. I'm like, yo, y'all are nerve pluckers. I feel like I raised my family. And so Gemini, being a Gemini, also being born on Juneteenth, I feel like this was part of my calling also. So I feel like I raised my mom and dad. I feel like I taught my uncles and my aunts and uncles a lot of stuff growing up that they didn't even understand about themselves, because I was really that kid. Like, hey, do you know that you're not a good mom? Like, I was that kid. I was like, hey, yeah, listen, you're a bad dad. Okay, let me tell you why you're a bad dad. Sit down, listen to me. And they're like, yo, somebody need to beat this kid. But I'm like, that's just how I was. So I'm saying all of this to say that regardless to what I went through, I have always been my own person. I have never been able to truly be swayed by the people around me, because they were just not that. They weren't anyone that I felt like, yeah, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be a straight antagonizer when I get big. Like, this is not my thing. And also, for those who know me, I don't scream. I'm a person who does not raise their voice. If I raise my voice for too long, if I talk too loud for too long, my throat is hurting for days. So it's just something that I don't do, you know? So, and I digress, because this is the story that I want to tell you guys. One, I didn't really have friends, so I didn't learn the things that typical kids learned when they were little, you know? Hopscotch. I learned hopscotch when I was the camp counselor from the kids. I never learned how to play crazy eights as a child. Most of the time I was forced to read, or my dad always was big on learning. So he used to bring math games, and everything that he brought was like from these stores that had like $250 tactile toys for children that make your child like baby geniuses. So all I had was, I had a lot of baby dolls and stuff like that would literally sit on display, because I didn't want anything messy, right? So I never played with them. They never took them out of their clothes. Some of them never came out the packaging. I was really that kid.
Let's take a quick positive cause just to shout out our homegirls, Kemba and Andrea from Kiyha Real Estate Group. Whenever you're thinking real estate, whenever you're thinking investments, whenever you're thinking about planning for the long term, think Kiyha Real Estate Group. They're generating wealth for generations. KiyhaGroup.ca. If your goal is to purchase a car and to make the process as simple as possible, just get a car broker, guys. You just get a car broker. Big shout out to our homeboy, Hamsdale Jacques, the owner of HJCourtierAuto.com. That's HJCourtierAuto.com. If you're a small to medium-sized business and you're getting started and you're ready to go to the next level, what do you need? You need a phone line and you need a website. Think Mainstream Digicom. They got all your telecommunication needs checked. MainstreamDigicom.com. You're trying to get out on the web. You're trying to understand how to navigate through ads. Check out Java Logics for all your marketing, your digital marketing. Where would we be without Preston? I don't even know. Check out Java Logics. I give thanks to Preston for what he's done for the OFC. The amount of positive reviews we've gotten from all his referrals, we're proud to stand behind his work. Check out javalogics.com. No, it's not just because he's my brother. It's because you can't talk hip-hop in Montreal without saying M City Solo. Guys, check out his latest project, In My Fields, available on mcitysolo.com. If it's not one of the hardest new EPs to hit Montreal, come and let me know. You already know. It's your boy, Pharaoh, bigging up, mcitysolo.com.
Keeping the culture alive. I gotta give thanks to West Can Folk Performing Company. For the last 40 years plus, they've been promoting our culture through song, drum, and dance, educating youth, the children, the seniors. Just check them out, westcanfolk.com.
Girl, what are you cooking?
My curry chicken.
Ooh, you're burning it.
Oh, gosh, it looks so...
It's okay, girl. You need the Curry House. They have the best Caribbean food in town. 2 locations in Montreal, West Island, and Côte-de-Neige. For more information, follow Caribbean Curry House, MTL. Don't forget to mention the Empower Hour for your 10% discount.
So, who placed in the order?
Me.
DeVito, WizKid, Burna Boy. Those are just some of the big names that's blessed Montreal thanks to Afrobeats Montreal. Definitely check out Afrobeats MTL for all concerts, show listings, everything that has to do with Afrobeats in the city. Check out Afrobeats MTL.
One full circle. We are the Melanated Community Resource Hub and Network. What does that mean? We're here for each other.
Okay.
So my parents bought me these, it's like a square and it has these clear squares on it, but it's around the side. It'll show you a set of numbers from 1 to 10 on the top, 1 to 10 across the top and down the side of it. And in the middle, it'll either say plus, minus, divide, multiplication sign. And when you press the button down, you would get the answer. What is 1 times 1? So the 1 is there, the 1 is there. When you touch it, it'll tell you, okay, it's 1. And so this, like, I had a lot of games like that. So I never learned how to ride a bike until I was 14 years old. And next week, I'm going to tell y'all that story. But yeah, I never learned how to ride a bike until I was 14 years old. So needless to say, I was a child that didn't have a lot of child characteristics. And my father came from New York one time with the incentivism in his mind that he was going to incentivize me and tell me, listen, we're going to go outside and we're going to actually play in the park. And I'm like, play in the park? Why? Why do you want to play with the commoners? Why? I don't understand. You know, I really was like Queen Elizabeth. So I can remember getting dressed, and I dressed myself every day because my parents dressed me like I was like one of the rest of the kids. I'm like, listen, I only go to school with them. I'm not really like, so I would go in the house and I would put on pantyhose, and I had these bomb patent leather and leather half and half boots. They were black and white on either side. And I would put those on with, and I was obsessed with Jody Watley. So I had a Jody Watley tulle type skirt, and I would put on a tank top and a jean jacket. I was really that kid, and put a headband on my head that was sparkly because I was that girl. In my mind, I was that. And so my father came and he said, I want you to start playing with the kids. So he bought all of this baseball equipment. And for those who know, in Little Burgundy, before that park was a big park like it is with the basketball court and stuff, it was a baseball field. And so me, being the child who has never played a game in her life, right? I was in my head very much. So they take me to the park and they call up all the people from the neighborhood. And when my dad came, everybody would show up. So let's say it's 100 of us in the park and everybody's cheering. We having a good time. And my dad got the drinks rolling and there's joints going around and we're all out there hanging out. And they say, all right, time to play some baseball. So they say, Kiyha, you're up first. What? I don't know how to play anything. No, I'm not first. I need to observe for a little while. No, Kiyha, you're up first. I said, no, somebody got to go first. They're like, okay, somebody else goes first. So somebody else goes up. They get their 3 tries at hitting the ball and they make it to the first base.
Right.
They said, come on, Kiyha, you're next. And I got up and I went over there and I'm like, I don't even know. What do I do? And they said, just hit the ball. So they give me the bat. And for those of you who know me, I've always been a big girl, always been one of the biggest in my class, all the way up until grade 11, like literally. So I take the bat in my hand and I'm standing there and imagine this chunky, tall little girl who don't know nothing about this. And I'm standing there, I'm scared to death. They done put this thing on me to block my face. And so I just start swinging. What? They're like, no, wait until they throw the ball. Wait. They like, just swing. I'm like, oh, wait. Swing now or wait for them to throw the ball and then start swinging. They like, they going to throw it and then you swing. But when they throw it, you want to swing at the same time. So they threw the ball and I hit the ball and the ball goes, if you know Little Burgundy, there's a building that's over to the side and nobody knows who lives over there.
Right.
The ball goes over that building. Mind you, I just made 7 years old. I turned 7 like 10 days before this.
Wow.
I have never played this before. I hit the ball goes over the thing. They say to me now, we lived across the park. I used to sit across the street and watch the kids play in the park. We are that close. I hit the ball and the ball goes over the building. And I commence to be like, oh my God, because everybody starts screaming. They say, run home, Kiyha, run home, Kiyha. And I take off across the field.
Oh, no. They're like, no, not your house.
They need to tell you. They need to teach you the bases.
They did not teach you no base. Bad parenting. No wonder. Okay, now I see what you're saying.
When I got to the end of the street, I'm like, for sure it's okay for me to cross the street by myself today because they just told me run home. Mm-hmm. So I cross the street by myself. I go home. I sit on the porch. And when I look over, everybody is in the park laughing. They are keeled over, crying, laughing. I hate that my dad gave everybody reefer. It was terrible. They were keeled over. They had snots coming out their nose. They were crying tears. And they were all walking like a weird wonky walk back over to the house like,
because they're laughing so hard, weak and tired.
They're laughing. I was so upset, you know. They got over to the house and they were like, no, Kiyha, we meant run to third base. Come on, come back over to the field. Well, needless to say, I was done. Let me tell you something. Yeah. I was never going back to that park again. And you guys brought me there to embarrass me because I'm sure you guys did this on purpose. So from that point on, I've always kind of had little trust issues. And even though I can laugh about that now, I literally can, like my little books from high school and stuff like that with little writings in it, along the edges of my pages of my workbook and stuff, it says, trust no one, trust no one. It repeats around the edge of the book. It was on the border writing, trust no one, because my heart was so soft that I was like, oh yeah. But it ended up, for me, I always felt like I ended up getting burned in the end.
So sorry, but the you as a little kid feeling like trust no one, all these new age pranks that these parents are doing on their kids. Yes. Like, and some of them they're cute and funny, but others like y'all taking it too far. Like, especially when you do the stuff where they act like they're haunting or they're ghosts in the house and all these different things where you're scaring the like the crap out of your kids and stuff like that. I'm like, you don't know the scars that you're putting on these kids.
Yes, absolutely. So I said that for Kiyha's Jambaliyha that I was going to tell this story today, but I am actually going to do a session with my mom and dad, and I am going to have them retell that story from their point of view, and I'm going to play it on the show so that you can hear. Listen, I was so upset with these people. I was like, yeah, I have no parents.
I first of all, I love that. I'm inspired. I feel next week I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about myself too. I think I love it.
Yeah, like I'm an only child. I'm a single child with no parents. That's how I just started acting. I was just like, yeah, these guys are not equipped. They are not fit. And so shortly thereafter that, I actually told my mom and dad that I'm going to live with my grandmother, and I did.
Wow, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
But
I'm out.
Did you also kind of look at it like, did you ever have that revelation when you became the age that your parents were when you were a kid? And then you're just like, well, damn, y'all weren't real adults anyway. Like, y'all were still kids.
See, that's the thing. My mom and dad were not. My mom was 18, but my dad is 18 years older than my mama. So he was old enough to know. He knew better. He knew better, but my father is a prankster and he loves to laugh. And he's really that guy. So for him, he was like, yo, my daughter is a hoot, y'all. And you know what? My father loved the video camera, you know. Anywhere he went, he had a video camera. Somebody tape this.
So if you dig up, you have old tapes?
Yes, we do have old tapes. And there's a guy that used to hang around us. His name, we used to call him TV because he could fix any TV. But TV used to come around and my dad used to pay TV on a daily basis just to come and record us.
Wow.
Yeah.
The time. So you might have a reality show that you don't even know sitting in your archives.
Yeah. So yeah, that is Kiyha's Jambaliyha. And I just wanted to tell that story today. And I hope that you guys got a laugh out of that. I hope that you guys were able to deduce a thought process about this story that allows you to, maneuver differently as a parent, or how you look at your parents as children. I know now that my parents were really doing the best that they could do with what they had. They weren't young, but they definitely, were trying to work with a child that was, and I am self diagnosed, but I always say, I'm like, that was an autistic child you guys were looking at. I don't think you guys understand that. And over the years, I might have grown to learn and mask and do things differently, but I definitely believe that I am on the spectrum. And I recognizing my traits as a child, I'm like, yeah, for sure, this is what this child was going through. But back then, they didn't have labels and stuff like that. You was either, they was either all right or they was a little slow. And they was like, but I was one of those kids. I was very, very smart, but I was a little slow when it came to some stuff. I was like, man, listen, I got to keep all that stuff for the complex children, because I'm a very simple girl over here, and keep them kids away from me, by the way. So.
Nice, Kiyha. Thank you for sharing that piece of life.
Yeah, that was Kiyha's Jambaliyha, y'all.